Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Hit the Bid here on September 7th. This is Ty Robbie here with your Week 36 Market Watch. Today we're going to be running through our charts and seeing what happened across these markets last week. We did see this cattle market begin to cool off a little bit with some downside coming in late last week. Corn prices snapping up to new monthly highs, however, price getting a little bit stagnant last week on the short holiday week. And equity markets also balancing out up here near these record highs, but starting to digest some of this recent jobs data that's been coming in, and going to be on the lookout for some inflation data in the week ahead. So we do have some big news events to keep our eye on with the CPI and PPI reports coming in this week, but plenty of opportunities waiting for us in week 36. So let's jump right in and get started. First up, got our October live cattle on the board. Did see a little bit of downside here finally coming into this cattle market after we've had a pretty impressive rally over the last 9 weeks. We've seen this market shoot up from this prior low back here on the 26th of June, right around the 205 mark, all the way up to this record high at 242.07. Pretty impressive lockout rally over these 9 weeks here, but we are starting to see price roll over a little bit and a little bit of a cool off, a little bit of a pullback looking like it's getting underway here. Did see last week's action open up with prices opening up here for the highs of the week, balancing out on Tuesday after the Labor Day holiday, followed by 3 days of downside here going into the weekend with a little bit of a pullback coming back here towards this rising 20-day moving average. Just nice, a little bit of a cool off here, no major breaks or anything at the moment here in this cattle market, just a nice steady pullback looking to be underway here. We do expect to see this dip be bought up with this big picture uptrend still rolling. We do have plenty of support below the closing price from last week. Lots of supportive action here at these rising moving averages, as well as a couple key support levels that we will be keeping our eye on as we head into the new week. We do have our bear pivot coming in here at 235, which was Friday's low. If we see continued offers below 235 as we kick off the new week, we could see a little bit deeper pullback get underway here. We do have this rising 20-day moving average printing here just above that 234 mark, so we could see, we'll have to wait and see how the bulls respond at that area. This market has been very strong and resilient, and most of the strongest uptrends usually tend to ride that 20-day moving average, so we'll want to see the bulls continue to step in and offer support here at this 20-day moving average like we saw here at the early part of August. But in the event that 20-day moving average doesn't hold, we do have a couple levels here down below. First up, this 232 to 232.75 level is going to be a good spot to look for the bulls to step in and offer support. This was the prior all-time high back here in August before we saw this nice breakout above it back on the 20th of the month. Nice breakout rally. This prior resistance will now act as support, so be looking for this market to come down here towards this 232.75 to 232 level. The ranges are a little bit wider. The volatility is still slightly elevated, so we could see a little bit of wiggle room, give or take a buck on either side of these levels, but we do have plenty of support down below. Below that, we could see this market kind of cut through this range we traded in here for about 2 or 3 weeks here throughout August and start coming back down here towards this rising 50-day moving average that's printing just shy of the 227 mark over here. We do have good support all the way down into there. This big picture uptrend still remains intact, and we could see this market give back a little bit more here, but dips are still expected to be buying opportunities. This market has had a pretty impressive rally over the last couple months here. A little bit of a cool off would be a welcome sight, and nice healthy ebb and flows to a big picture uptrend here would be good for this market to continue this rally into the fall and into the year. We do expect to see these dips be bought up. We'll just be monitoring the situation throughout the week, looking to see how this market acts at some of these key levels and key moving averages. We'll be keeping an eye out for that. But once we do start to see this market balance out, level out, we'll be looking for that upside to continue here as we do expect to see higher cattle prices into the fall. Go down the line here into these back months. We continue to see a pullback on all these back months, but good healthy action here, good healthy pullback, and prices all holding above that rising 20-day moving average. So all throughout these 2026 contract months, be looking for supportive action to be stepping in here, and just have to wait and see how this market unfolds in the week ahead, but we will be monitoring the situation for good dip buying opportunities throughout the next week. Over to the October feeders now. Same story over here, but we did have 4 red days here in this feeder market. Cooling off and rolling over a little bit here as well. We did see price opening up on Tuesday here, balancing out before seeing that continued downside all week long. 4 straight red days here on the chart here, which is something we haven't seen in several months here in this feeder market. Pretty impressive rally from this $3 mark all the way up to 370. Really impressive rally here. This feeder market has been leading the charge here in the cattle market. Nice strong rally here over the last couple months, but cool off here is a welcome sight, as we do expect to see the dips be bought up and this big picture uptrend resume into the fall and into the year. However, in the near term, we would welcome a little bit more pullback, deeper pullback into some of these deeper value areas would be welcome. Be a good opportunity to see those bulls pick up some lower prices and start to turn this market around and head back towards those all-time highs. Friday's low being our bear pivot here as well, 355.30, which is sitting right on top of this rising 20-day moving average. As we saw throughout the month of August, this market failed to even touch that 20-day moving average, as we did see support coming in before we could even get down there. We'll have to wait and see if this market or the live cattle market is able to open up early this week and get a break above Friday's high. We could see this uptrend resume sooner than later. However, with the impressive rally we saw over the last 2 months, it would be a welcome sight to see a little bit deeper pullback to some of these deeper value areas to offer better value spots for the bulls out there. But we do expect to see higher prices continue into the fall here as well. Below this 20-day moving average, if we do see continued offers below our bear pivot here in the week ahead, we could see this market get marked down here to the 349, 350 mark. 350 just being a pretty key psychological level, round number there, with the 349 level being these prior highs that acted as resistance, which should offer support now that we are trading above it. So 350 would be the next step down, and from there we could see this market get marked all the way back down here towards 340, which is going to see this rising 50-day moving average coming up into that area. This will be a really good deep value area to buy if we do see price get down there. However, we have seen this market show impressive strength and continued demand here, keeping this market rallying over the last couple months. So not saying we're not going to see this 50-day moving average, but these big picture, these strong big uptrends like this might not even get back to those deep value areas, but we'll be monitoring this market as well, seeing if this market can find some good spots to balance out, good supportive areas to balance out at, and offer good buying points for the bulls out there, as we do expect to see these feeder prices continue higher into the fall. Just going to need to see a little bit of a pullback in the balance area here before we can start to see that upside. But we do expect to see bulls buy this market up and see higher prices as we head into the fall and winter months. Going down the line here, all of these fall contract months pulling back a little last week, but still maintaining some strong demand and up here near record prices. Going all the way out here into these 2026 contract months, we did see some all-time highs printing even last week on Tuesday in those those spring and early summer months here on this feeder market. Big picture uptrend still remains intact. Be looking for dips to buy in the week ahead. We'll be monitoring this as we go into week 36. But this cattle market just needs to cool off a little bit here in the near term, but we do expect to see higher prices continue into the fall. Last week we saw just pretty choppy action over here in this corn market. We do have our December corn futures here up on the board now. Week 34, we did see a nice strong finish there on Friday's close of week 34, finishing the day up here on pretty good volume above that that declining 50-day moving average and a new monthly high. Nice follow through here on Tuesday after the Monday Labor Day holiday. However, this market just kind of chopping up all week long in about a 10-cent range here between 415 and 425. A little bit of a flush down here below that 50-day moving average again, but like you can see here, this market just kind of balancing out. No real directional breaks here at the moment. Above that 50-day moving average is definitely giving the bulls a chance here for a potential reversal. However, we are seeing prices struggling to get any real follow-through above this declining trend line here. Price balancing out here, so we could see this be a pretty good battle zone here at the moment. We do have our bull pivot here being 425, so the bulls definitely need to get a close above this 425 level to really confirm any potential new uptrend. But in the meantime, we are going to stick to a neutral bias here until we can get a break either above that bull pivot or see this market start to trade back down here below this 50-day moving average. In the event of a breakdown below 416, we will see this downtrend resume. We have seen some higher highs and higher lows over the last couple weeks here, so definitely seeing the bears being a little exhausted, a little tired down here, and might just be seeing a deeper relief rally than we were anticipating. with this market kind of chopping up here right around the 420 mark in this 10-cent range. We'll just have to wait and see for a nice directional close beyond either one of these points to confirm the next leg. So in the meantime, sit back and relax. Let's just wait and see. Let this market decide its direction for us before we get too committed to a side. We will need to see a close beyond either one of these pivot points to confirm the direction for the next leg of this market. Over to the crude oil market now. Last week we did see a nice strong finish on Tuesday following the Labor Day holiday. Nice breakout here above that 50-day moving average and the $65 mark, which was a pretty good resistance point over the last couple months here. Nice strong break there, but it was pretty quickly reversed with Wednesday's action taking it all the way back down towards Tuesday's low, and just seeing some downside continue here back towards the 61.45 mark, which was our low of the week, and that was put in on Friday. Nice about three and a half bucks, about $3 of downside here, coming from that high to start the week. A little fake out breakout here, trapping maybe some bulls that were looking for this market to rally, but with this downside to finish the week, it looks like the bears are back in control here. To confirm that, we will need to see some follow through with some offers down here below the prior week's low at 61.45, which will be our bear pivot as well. Below that, we should see this market cruise down here into towards the $60 mark and even potentially the high 50s. So look for that downside to continue. Bears had a pretty nice finish here to end last week, and we'd like to see those bears carry that momentum into week 36 and keep pushing these oil prices down for us as we head into the fall. Equity markets last week, seeing some good back and forth. We are seeing after the Labor Day holiday, all the big money coming back from the Hamptons and Miami, so we are entering a pretty seasonally volatile and seasonally weak period. Coming into the end of quarter 3 here, we usually do see some volatility here in the month of September. However, we still have a very healthy environment for stocks, a very healthy environment in this equity market. We do expect to see this big picture uptrend resume here as we head into quarter 4, but we do just want to be cautious of some volatility and maybe some downside here during this month of September. This market has continued to chop up here around the 6,500 mark, as we have seen some weakness over here in the NASDAQ, while the Dow has been the laggard throughout the year, has finally broke out and starting to hold up here near these all-time high prices. So a little bit of divergence here between the indexes, with the NASDAQ being the weak one, Dow being the strongest, and that's keeping the S&P just kind of stuck here in the middle, chopping sideways. We haven't really seen this market go anywhere over the last 3 or 4 weeks, just kind of trading here between the $64 and $6,500 mark. It's pretty sloppy action on either end of the range, but we can tell this market wants to go higher, but in the meantime, we're just kind of going through, like I said, a seasonally weak and volatile period, so we'll just have to wait and see how this market responds. We do have some inflation data coming in this week with we got CPI and PPI data coming in. PPI being Wednesday morning on the 10th before the bell, and CPI coming in on the 11th before the opening bell as well. So that's going to be some stuff that this market will be looking to. Have to wait and see how that inflation data is acting, as this market has been adjusting to some worse than anticipated jobs data that's been coming out recently. But this market continues to hold up here near these record highs, showing continued demand, and looks like plenty of money to keep this market supported. In the event of a breakdown back below 64.60 in the week ahead, we would like to see a deeper pullback. This market could shake out as much as 8 to 10% off of this recent high, which would offer a pretty deep pullback here. And not saying we're going to see that, but it would be welcome to shake out some weak hands and set us up for a nice strong power trend as we head into quarter 4. So we do expect to see over the big picture higher prices in these equity markets continue. I do just want to be cautious of some potential volatility and weakness in the month ahead, as we have had a pretty impressive rally here, and we are starting to see a little bit of rotation across the sectors, and some of our leaders starting to form some bases and give it back a little ground here. So definitely still have a healthy environment over the long haul, but just want to be cautious with this seasonally weak and volatile period that we're headed into. So, but in the event of a deeper dip down here to some of these prior support areas and deeper value areas, we would expect to see good value opportunities on the underlying names I would like to see this market find good support at a lower price, but in the meantime, look for this market to continue chopping up until we can get a nice break either way here. So, over the long haul, we do expect to see equity prices continue to climb, and this market remains in a very healthy environment. We would like to see good supportive action in the week ahead before we can confirm that breakout or any continued downside. So we'll just have to wait and see how this market reacts to some inflation data in the week ahead. And that's all we got for this evening. Like I said, inflation data coming out on Wednesday and Thursday. Other than that, it's pretty quiet news week outside of the inflation data, so should have pretty good opportunities. 5-day trading week this week coming off of the Labor Day holiday. Got the big money back in town, and so we should see some wider ranges and some good opportunities waiting for us in week 36. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll catch you tomorrow night for closing comments.